The client said to us, like, I've just got to tell you guys, like, you talk about family, but you guys actually live and breathe that. And honestly, in 12 years of business, that was the biggest compliment we've had.
G'day guys, welcome back to another cracking episode of Level Up. We're back in the shed this afternoon and this one's going to be an absolute beauty, I reckon. So I've actually got half of the Backman Builders team here with me. So I think the better half couldn't make it, but anyway, we'll go with the one we got. But look, I'm super proud to have him here. He's up in Queensland on holidays. So the Backman Builders operate out of Melbourne and the Macedon Ranges. So big warm welcome to Dean. How are you, mate?
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. It's good to be somewhere warm, getting out of Melbourne, Victoria's winter. But yeah, I think you've been talking to Darren a little bit too much there, mate. He's always saying I probably talk too much and he's the better looking brother. So,
mate, I love you guys. You as a characters, and it's always a good chat talking to either one of you. But yeah, I think the two of you can both talk an ear off.
Yeah, I think you've had a couple of beers with Darren previously, mate, and I think you see who really talks. And Darren will say it's me, but I'll say otherwise.
Yeah. Hey, mate, thanks very much. So you're up in Queensland on holidays, enjoying our warm weather, and yeah, really appreciate you taking the time out to jump in and do a podcast.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, it's our annual Noosa trip with the family. So I've got the good wife and 4 daughters up there with my parents at the moment. So
yeah,
just taking that mid-year break before it's time to knuckle down again.
Yeah, well, mate, firstly, fantastic that you're scheduling in holidays and doing it. Like so many builders just running around chasing their tail and sort of squeezing in a bit of time here and there, but like you actually schedule your breaks in, and because you were just talking about, like, it's pretty much a year ago that you were up here. You were following me on social media. I think you rang me up. I was on my Bryce Street job. We were going to try and catch up, but it didn't pan out. But and then you were talking to a few of the other members, and you basically jumped on board with Elevate, and the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly, mate. It's been a massive year. We've been in business for 12 years, and as you touched on, there's Darren, my brother, and myself. So we've been around the traps a while and learnt all there is in building and business. And yeah, we were actually holidaying together last year in Noosa together for our dad's 70th, and had some time to actually sitting on a jetty and having a couple of beers, and yeah, just looked forward to what's ahead for us and what we wanted to do. And yeah, as I said, been following Live Life Build, and along with sort of passive house sort of stuff as well, that we took the plunge on both. And yeah, the last 12 months has been massive for us. We've worked on a lot of things, but I think, look, Darren's probably been a lot better than me over the years at focusing on himself and maintaining gym work and health, whereas I went the other way. I was kind of, had kids first and started, getting a bit more of a dad bod going on. So
I prefer your way, mate.
Turning that around a bit in the last 12 months, 100%. But yeah, look, I think with all the stress and everything of what, especially life in Victoria and Melbourne was like, with, the old COVID and everything, I just needed to really, I suppose, there's a quote that I found a few years ago that was, look at yourself in the mirror and go to war with yourself. And I did that. Like I've been doing that pretty well for the last sort of 18 months. One of the biggest and best things we've done was jump on board with Live Life Build.
As you know, we're just talking about, like, we've just had another big opening in Elevate, and it's been incredible, like biggest intake we've ever had. So for me, there's a lot of things going on. Like we're in a time where everybody is looking for change. Like everybody's realising that our associations, our licensing bodies aren't doing enough for builders and tradies, and also obviously with the passive house stuff and building better, like the construction codes a bare minimum. And so the question that comes up all the time is, like, everyone's either like they haven't got enough money, or they haven't got enough time, or they're busy or whatever. Like, after 12 years in business, what was it that made you take the step to think, fuck, like, if we don't do anything, we're just going to keep going on this journey? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, well, not a straightforward answer to that, to be honest, mate. Like, there's obviously everyone's going to hold themselves back, and I think a lot of people might find an excuse to not take a plunge into it. It's no different when you first get into business. Like, there's people out there that'll say, oh, it's not a good time because we want to travel, or we want to have a kid, or we want to buy a house. And it's like, to me, we don't think down that line. Like, we're always looking to kick the next door down. It doesn't matter, we've done shit in our life that, time. I've had 4 kids, like, timing of all of those were probably not right. But, fuck, like, we've done that and we're happy. Like, we're, we're making our own sort of journey as we go. It's funny because, like, with business and life, people always ask us, how do you actually cope and how do you do this? And just some days you fucking don't. Like, you get through. But
like, I think it could go either way. It's either really good or really bad. And I feel just from the that I've learnt from about you and your brother, like I think you're the good way. Like you used to just bounce off each other really, really well.
Yeah, like we've got an awesome family network, mate. Like, I mean, without Darren and myself have got each other. We've got two incredible wives who did work in the business, and like Nicole, my wife now, is I'm supporting her with her venture of Clover Interiors, and Darren's wife's a school teacher, and she's gone back to her passion. But like realistically, like our biggest support network is, apart from our wives, are our parents. Like we've got phenomenal parents and a phenomenal family network. So we don't have far to look to kind of get that inspiration or support. Like if you're having a down day, like our mum's like knows if we've had a bad day, sometimes we'll have a Barney with each other, and she would just call us and she'd be like, what's going on? You're like, oh, nothing. And she goes, yeah, right. Like, what's going on? So, I mean, we've got that family network, and we're aware that like not everyone's as fortunate to have that. But, there's people out there that you can. And, I know the theme that we always chat about that we do with each other. Like we reached out to you to catch up, and before we kind of had met or knew each other, and there's probably, I don't know, we network with so many people.
It's really important to, two things I think the path we're going down, like definitely network. Like you've got to open up and communicate. So that ties in with being a bit vulnerable. Like you've got to be able to talk to people. Yeah, and 100%. If that means talking to other builders and having a chat about some issues you're having or asking for help, it's okay to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Like we just even had, we're doing a basement job at the moment in Melbourne, and for us that's been a long time coming. It's taken 3 years to get off the ground, and we sort of put the odd sort of informative video up, and same thing, like just share some education, and might help someone else. It might give someone else a better way of doing something, or vice versa. It might have someone else reach out to us and say, hey, I saw you did that, like we did it like this, like but we had builders, like a bunch of guys reach out, and it was just on some waterproofing detail of the basement, and we had so many guys reach out, like it's like bang bang bang, and those guys, some guys have got something coming up, and they're gonna follow that along, and hopefully it helps them on their own job site. So, but yeah, like, I mean, the personal stuff for me is like always number one, as you said before. Like we schedule everything in, and like, as great thing about Elevate, we all support each other with ideas. But for me, my scheduling is everything has got to be about my kids and my family first.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I was just having this conversation with another builder a couple of days ago, and I was explaining to him how, because he's like, oh man, I don't do anything. Like, what do you schedule? And like the reason we have Sunday planning out in the Elevate community on the Facebook page, because that's how me and my wife started. Like we never, because if you don't schedule, I think this gets overlooked. Like when we talk about scheduling, most people think you're talking about the jobs, but it's actually your personal. And ours started by simply locking in 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon for me and my, because we got to a point where like I was doing nothing for myself, my wife was doing nothing for herself, or missing out on kids stuff. The business was just constantly running around putting out fires. And so the very first thing that ever went in we got the joint calendar, a bloody Google calendar, and put in 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon. And I think the first 2 or 3 things went in there. Like I wanted to start doing some sort of exercise, so I organised to catch up with some mates on a Tuesday and a Thursday morning for an hour, and she wanted to start going to gym. So like we put those 2 things in there, and like within a few weeks we're like, shit, like this is actually good. Like someone rings me and wants to meet me on site on a Tuesday morning, I'm saying, oh no, I've got something scheduled in, I'll meet you here. And even like, and then that started to grow, and then it turned into me helping taking the kids to school twice a week, and and then it was a lot of it made me realise when we started scheduling I wasn't doing enough around home, because then it started going on to me cooking dinner a few nights a week, and so the schedule really started with all the personal stuff, like you said. And my big thing now is like, if I'm not right, nothing around me is right. So first things in our schedules are,
it's whole filling your cup. If there's no overflow for everyone else,
exercise,
and your cup's empty or even just half full, like everyone else is going to miss out on it. And we all talk about that a lot, and we talk about it within our business. Like we've got some awesome people that work for us, and probably one of the most influential guys that influences our culture in our work is a adult apprentice. So we've got 2 brothers that work for us in our chippy crew, and James is kind of the junior brother, and he's like really fast tracking through to more of a full-time supervisor. But his older brother, who's an adult apprentice, has got 4 kids as well. He's a jet. Like he has done more to influence our culture in the last 2 years than anyone else has in the 12 years before. He's the most polite that guy, like calls everyone sir. And now we got like, you'll ring up one of the other chippies and they'll be like, hey sir, what's going on? And, you know, I know there's a lot of guys we network with that have met Josh and James through like, you know, live events and, you know, webinars and stuff that we get all our guys involved with training. And, you know, people kind of go, oh, hey, sir, like they're not even in our business and they're kind of along it.
So have you got your team into scheduling their personal stuff?
Yeah, look, we've actually sat down a couple of months ago with our chippies, especially like they're just workers. Like they don't want to stop. They're just young guys. They're just passionate about what they're doing, and we're trying to like influence more of what we're doing in our personal life on them.
Yeah.
I mean, start of the year, the same guy Josh I'm talking about, I said to him, what's going on with the kids starting school? And he goes, oh, I've got little ones starting prep. And I'm like, well, you're going, aren't you? And he goes, oh no, I've got work on. And work on, sir. And I was like, well, no, you don't, mate. You're going to drop your kid off at school. And I saw him later that day and I was like, how was it? And he goes, oh, thanks so much. Like, that was the best. I can't believe I was going to miss that. And I said, well, if you ever miss that, I'm probably going to want to kick your ass because I don't want to miss it for myself and I don't want anyone else to miss something. Like, work's work. Like, I think if you're prioritising work, that's awesome. Like, you're a team player. But if you're not prioritising yourself, like, eventually it's going to catch up.
Yeah, it's super important. There's so many opportunities with kids' schools, kids' sport, family events, exercise. Like, if you don't schedule it in, it just doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah, that's right, mate.
I think it's pretty powerful that we try and really encourage that as well. Some guys are all on board with it, others you got to keep pushing them along. But I think we're the same, mate. Like I look at it as if I'm working my ass off to be better and spend more time with family, like my team's got to be able to do the same thing. Like it's unfair if I'm knocking off early or starting late. Like we've all got to sort of try and work together to reach goals and do that. And at the end of the day, like everyone's out there working for their family. So. Yeah,
well, it's on our logo, mate. Like it's like on my shirt, family. It's one of our mantras. It's like what we live by. Like we've had probably the biggest compliment we've had. It was the biggest job we've done. Probably, it went for a couple of years through COVID. We had an amazing relationship, still do, with those clients. We had a celebration kind of Sunday barbecue they put on when we finished. And the client said to us, like, I've just got to tell you guys, like, you talk about family and family building for family. And she said, but you guys actually live and breathe that. And honestly, in 12 years of business, that was the biggest compliment we've had.
That's awesome.
Because that just shows to us that our clients are seeing that. So, you know, we get clients.
And that's what's going to separate you. Like, that's what's going to get you the clients that separates you from the builder next door and the builder down the road. Like, that's you. Yeah, like, and we don't necessarily just build for families. We've got a single lady coming up that we're starting a project for in a few weeks, and she's met a couple of kids out the front of her driveway when I was swapping some stuff with the wife, swapping over work hours and talking about scheduling. I was helping her get her day done, and she was helping me, and you know, like, they still see, hey, you're a family guy. So if we're not there, you know, I probably used to feel guilty that I was not at work and I was like going to do a kinder drop off or a school pickup or something. And then I thought, nah, stuff that. Like, if people don't understand me and they don't understand like where we're coming from and our morals, well, they're not our client. Yeah. So I just, if I'm not available, there's a reason, whether it's a personal reason or a business reason. Yeah. I'm not available. So we always call back. Yeah. You always get an email back. There's no correspondence. And that's all. That's part of I guess it's one of the joys of working for yourself. Like, you can be adjustable with your schedule and stuff as well, but it's actually not that hard for an employer to, like I said, with our teams, to help them out to be able to do those same things. Like, it made fun of and again, like you said, like a lot of them, the times they're workers. They just want to turn up. They want to be part of the team. And like, I do feel like there's a couple of our boys that I'm on their back all the time because I know they got young families and stuff. I'm like, hey mate, what's coming up? I know my kids have got stuff, so your kids are going to have it too. Like, make sure you take that time out. Like, so we try and, like, with our guys now, like, we just tell them, like, mate, if you drop your kids off or you pick your kids up, whatever, like, we'll still put in your 8 hours. Like, it's part of the deal. And like, they end up like working harder when they're on site anyway because they appreciate you offering that and doing that. So
like, we're in a new age. Like, if we can be conducting our business on Zoom or, you know, out hours, or, you know, I always say win the morning, win the day. So like, you know, if I'm up at 5:30 and cracking into my day, I'm ahead. So you know, it's funny because you still rock up to like a school drop off and, you know, always got like some sort of Backman Builders gear on, whether it's a hat after the gym and I've gotten to a school pickup or you know, on the way there, and the amount of people still say, oh, you're not working. And it's like, it's just not like that anymore. Like,
well, just because you're not on site, it doesn't mean you're not working.
Like, we're on a phone. Like, we're emailing, we're communicating. you've got Dropbox or, your Slack chats and all this sort of stuff that we're all using.
It's all perception, mate, isn't it? Like many, that used to not annoy me, but put me on edge a little bit, because you'd think, oh shit, the boys are on site working. Like, is it like I'm here dropping the kids off or picking the kids up, or I've come home early to cook dinner for the missus or whatever. But so I'm a big fan of like, you work when the work's got to be done. So like the other weekend I went and did that breathless expedition, and I knew I was going to have the Thursday, Friday, Monday off. So like 4 days before that, like I was in the office 10 o'clock at night, smashing out the proposals. Like, you just got to do what you got to do. Like, and that gives you the freedom to be able to have that bit of time off when you can. So it's look, it's definitely a changing environment. Everyone's like, and like you said, with your phone, like your business never leaves you. Like, you've always got access to your plans.
Can be a bad thing. Hey? Can be a bad thing.
Oh, but it's only a bad thing if you don't control it and you don't schedule. Yep. So, mate, I'm huge on my phone. Like, I don't answer or respond to anything for any businesses like after 4 or 5 o'clock. I don't answer them early in the morning. So you've got to have that discipline. Like, discipline.
It's that setting a standard, isn't it? Like, we all talk about it, but I think that's something I failed at a fair bit younger days, was just pretty early on I got a second phone just to be like business, personal, and differentiate the two of them. And it took us a while to kind of say, okay, well, we've got a client that's going to contact us at, like, literally we had a client that used to just want to email at 12 o'clock on a Sunday night, and I'd get dings on my phone and I'd wake me up and I'd be like, just play with your mental health as well, because you're not having that time. So I think you learn over time. Like, we all learn and get better at doing things.
So how do you deal with that sort of, do you set an expectation with your clients around that sort of stuff? Yeah,
it's on everything, mate. Like, we got from emails to contracts to everything. It's like, our business hours, our, site meeting hours are a little bit different, because we try and have a lead chippy or, lead chippy supervisor involved with the client meetings as well. So, they know. And look, there's still times where you've got to break that because there's something maybe super urgent, but that's rare. Like, honestly, it's got to be really rare. Whereas years ago, we'd think it was, they need to know where a door handle is and the boys are putting door handles on the motor. It's like, doesn't matter. But I think if it's something urgent, it's fine. But for us, we're pretty clear with it. And look, if someone even tries to call us a couple of times and they can't get through to us, we ring in the morning.
It's not it's not your problem.
No.
So, mate, tell us a little bit about how you, like, what's your background? Where did it all start for you?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Sorry to interrupt, guys, but we've got to thank our sponsors, because without them, we can't keep delivering you this incredible podcast. So massive shout out to DPS Constructions, Quoties, Live Life Build, and 44 Gallon Films. Make sure you go and check those guys out, support them so that we can keep delivering you this incredible podcast.
Mate. Well, I think for Darren and myself, like, we've got a heavy building family. Like, two of our uncles are builders. Our dad had a concreting company for years, and it's funny because Darren's the middle child, the larrikin, and he would always say to Dad, "I'm going to be a concreter when I grow up, Dad," and he's like, "Bullshit, you are." So we sort of had a lot of fun at school and both finished year 12. And
how many years apart are you?
2, about 2 and a bit. So Darren's the middle, and we've got a sister who's close, who's the youngest. But I was no slouch at school, but I was really always enjoyed my mates and girls and parties and stuff, like most young blokes. And I sort of was actually weighing up between being a vet and being a builder or chippy. So I just got to like year 12 and just hated stuff like chemistry and stuff. And I was like, let's follow the carpentry route. And I did a trial. My parents at the time, we'd moved up to East Gippsland, and I did a trial with the builder up there who was building my parents' childcare centre, and loved it. Did 2 weeks of framing, and I was like, this is it. I want to do this. Ended up moving back to Melbourne through my apprenticeship with one of my uncles, and was fortunate enough to work on really high-end homes. So, I learnt pretty quickly what it's like to have high standards and, I suppose see the different business side of things. And I actually saw my uncle like always on the phone, and I was like, oh, he's always busy. He's always got stuff on. That's exciting. And I was like, I want to be running my own show. So I was about 22, and Darren was in his 4th year of his apprenticeship. Followed a pretty similar route after school, but Darren did a lot of framing, whereas I did the lot. So Darren came over and worked with me, and we started Backman Builders. I was 23, Daz was 21, and I had a lot more hair back then, mate. But I also have 4 daughters, so I don't know what was worse.
So was there a gap between going from an apprentice to, like, how did you go from being an apprentice to being a builder?
So we pretty much like networked with a couple of people. One of Dad's best mates growing up was running a like development sort of in Melbourne where there was like 10 triple story townhouses, and they had problems. Like we talk about shit builders and shit tradesmen, and like we were going in and just we're like called David and we're like, mate, this is fucked. Like there's so much wrong here. And literally within the first week he'd kicked him off and he said, can you bring in your own crew? So we had a few mates that were looking for carpentry work, and we ended up finishing this development and went from there. We lined up a owner builder job that we kind of went on and sort of managed with them, and then we did a couple of owner builder jobs with mum and dad and ourselves, flipped a couple of things, and I did that for a couple of years, and I got my unlimited license, and we didn't really look back. We obviously learnt a lot pretty quickly. I don't like everyone with like our margins and stuff would have been low back then, and we sort of.
What were some of the most difficult things you think in those first 10 years? Like what were some of the most common challenges?
Well, Darren and myself, we're pretty similar, but we're pretty different. So I was always, I always like to please people by being, like to think I'm a pretty genuine and helpful kind of person. And when we're building someone's house, we know it's their dream home and we've got their finances in it. And, when they come to you, we're sort of like wanted to please them all the time. And, I've probably let a few things slip through early days that cost us money at the end of the day. And then, you'd start putting your foot down and, relationships can turn sour. You get clients, obviously. I think we all know as builders, when people start using all their money and it's that, maybe a project's pushed out a little bit, that's when it gets a little bit tense. And that's when it's most important that early days you've set up a good relationship and you've got good communication.
Yeah.
I think early days, like we probably communicated, but we tried to communicate to please more than anything. Whereas now, like if we've got to have a tough conversation to say, look guys, this is going to cost you an extra 20 grand and it's not there. There's no such thing as we can just pull it out of our back pocket and it can just be done.
It's hard, isn't it? Like you say, like we're always, builders are people pleasers, so we're always trying to keep that, I guess, that happy vibe. Like you start on site, you're all good friends, you want to keep that relationship going, and it can be quite difficult to make a call sometimes whether you've got to have a hard conversation. And I think a lot of builders do, and I know I did for a long time, like we do ourselves out of profits, we do ourselves a lot of, anxiety and all these other pressures because we won't bring up a conversation.
Yep. Yeah.
And like a simple conversation can just put it all out on the table and solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that like drove us to sort of coming across yourself and Amelia with Live Life Build was, we were running like, what we think's a pretty good business and, great clients, leading into the type of work we want. We've now gone to down the Passive House Road, and that's another conversation, but we'd gone through great builds and where clients had just come to us and do the old tender and you win the job. And, like the final straw for us was we had a amazing house that we've built and it's, now in magazines and, it'll be a statement piece for us probably for our careers. But like that project had like 35 variations with one of, I think at the time they were like a top 20 Melbourne architect. And, the relationship with us and the client never broke down. It was amazing. The relationship with us, client and the project architect was great. Like, but there was so many missed things. And because we weren't, understanding what was going on, and we asked for more information and we said, hey, look, is there a decision? Because we'd like to, have some conversations on a few different things on how it can be built. And that's exactly what we do with our pre-construction and pack process. But that was the final straw for us. We're like, we just can't keep doing this tender. It's just bullshit. Like, there's a better way than this. Yeah. And when we had some chats and what's involved and pretty quickly like dove into it. Now, like, 12 months or so of like us kind of thinking about how we want to set it up. And it has been set up for like pretty much 12 months. We're working with designers we want to work with that are high performance designers that will only work with the pre-construction process because they know it helps them too.
Oh, mate, it is becoming the standard. Like so many people are realising the value of creating a team. Like, mate, I look back to how we used to do things and I just think, fuck me, like no wonder, like we dealt with all the shit we did. Like no wonder we had situations with clients. No wonder we made no money. Like it's just a no-brainer once you get your head around it.
And if you're going to charge, like say a client, I know everyone charges different fees, but like if you're going to say charge someone 6 to 12 grand thereabouts, depending depending on the scale of the project and what's going on. Like, we're wanting to build high performance, and the end goal is passive house. But for us, like, there's a lot more pre-construction to step through there. You don't just draw that and it happens. Like, you got to work with the team. So, you know, we've got, one in particular with Outlier Studios we work with a lot. We've got an awesome relationship. Like, we catch up for beers, and like, we went up to the conference together to Sydney a few weeks ago with some of our team, and, you know, we talk about...
That was a passive house conference.
Yeah, and we talk about business, we talk about life, we talk about kids, and it makes us get better because we've got that connection, and then the clients can connect.
Do you think it's helped the relationship you have with your architect, like you having an understanding of his business and him having an understanding of yours, has really helped that preliminary process? Without doubt.
Because
so much of the time, it's a lot of butting heads, isn't it? Because like, builders think the architect's charging too much, and the architect thinks the builder's charging too much, but either party has no understanding of each other's business.
Yeah, and the reality is, and I've said for a long time, like, especially with engineers, like, there's some great engineers and there's some bad ones, just like there's some great builders and there's some bad builders. Like, it's everywhere, every industry. But I think, you know, when you get an architect designer and they go to site and they maybe see what's happening, like, everyone's different. Some people will pay attention to the nuts and the bolts and see what's going on. Some people will walk on and just want to take a photo for the Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's all they're thinking about. So I think if everyone's helping each other, like engineer, designer, you know, you've got obviously all the other consultants that we know that we need to get plans approved to build.
Yeah.
If everyone's on the same page and everyone's on the same team to help each other, it's a dream. Like, I know you have that process and you've got those relationships with certain designers and architects, and that's what we've got happening ourselves. It's such a good process.
Yeah, like I don't know, I hate the phrase game changer, but it is like when you build those relationships. But look, I think something I've really like, it's like everything, like as you know, with Live, Life, Build and Elevate, like it's far more than just a builder. Like we do a lot of personal stuff, but it's incredible. Like I always look back now. Like I used to look back and just get pissed off. Like fucking lost money on that job. Like because we built so many incredible homes where we broke even or lost money or maybe made a little bit of money. And
you were the bank.
Like, we were the bank, and like the client would live in it for a couple of months or a year and like sell it and make a fortune. Like the real estate person selling their house would make more money on their commission than we made for building the bloody thing.
Yeah.
And I know that same scenario is still happening now, but I look back now and I use it to encourage me to keep growing, because like with architects, I completely understand now why so many of them are pretty like act the way they do, because like they go and they draw these incredible homes, and like a lot of them give builders the opportunity. Like they might have a few builders that do their work and they'll say, hey, do you mind run your eye over this project? And the builder will spend 10 minutes looking at it and go, oh yeah, what's the budget? $1 million? Yeah, we can do it for that. And then so they go off and continue drawing it and then come back with this work of art, and then the builder's like, fuck, that's $2 million. Like, what are you doing? Like so many builders miss all these opportunities to get involved for a start. To obviously the pack process works so well because it is a process. Like you can actually lay it out in front of your client, say, look, we need to follow all these steps to get you from here to here.
Yep.
But I think the other really big thing with it is so many builders are undercutting, lowering costs, substituting materials to try and get the job. And so then when they get the job, architects and designers are like, don't have trust that they're actually going to deliver what's on their drawings. So then you start all this headbutting because the architects like they turn up to site and they're like, oh, that's not what we wanted, or that's not what we expected. So then you get the builders going, oh, fuck them. Like they keep coming here changing shit. And like, it's got to be a relationship. Like you've got to work together.
We've always said, I use it in my own house. Like I'll ask my kids, like, what do we say? And we'll be like, teamwork makes the dream work. Like everyone does.
Yeah.
And I think when everyone works together, like you can achieve great things.
Yeah.
Like it's known, like, you know, I'm a massive sports fan as well. And you don't just go and see like a team of like different superstars go and win a championship or a grand final.
Yeah.
You've got to be an awesome team.
Yeah.
To win the ultimate. And that's in business. We're all after, you know, I know for me, like everyone talks about money, but like money, I think, takes care of itself when everything else is going well. And if you're worried about what the bank balance looks like, you're losing, like, because you're not worried about other things. And I've been guilty of it at younger days. Like I don't sit still. I drive my missus nuts. Like I don't sit still. Like, you know, as you know, like A couple of years ago, I went and bought a farm and made the move out to the Macedon Ranges, and I've never been happier. But I sit back and I've got a little bit more land, and so I go and buy some more cattle. And she's like, "Oh fuck, Dean, like, what are you doing?" And and she'll be laughing, like, because she knows it's true. Like we push each other, because she's kind of like the calm influencer, and Darren's the same. He's the one who's be like, "All right, chill out. Like, we're going to do this."
What advice could you give to people that are listening? Like, if they're like resonating with some of the scenarios we're talking about, what advice would you give to them if they're thinking about building a better relationship with a designer or architect? Like, how do you go about it?
Yeah, well, it's no different to anything in business, I think. Like, even if we're talking about, building a standard built house, or, getting involved with high performance homes, or whatever it might be. Even if it's business practices, like, if you're waiting for something to come to you, it's not coming. Like, you got to get, on your own 2 feet, pick up the phone. Like, we network with a lot of people. Like, that's how we started a relationship. And if you're networking with other people and reaching out and getting on the front foot, like, we go to webinars, we do courses, we go to training days, we go to we'll go catch up with other builders for drinks, or have a coffee, and no different to what we'll do with a few Elevate guys tonight. But we're all there to help, like, grow each other. And if you've got designers there and you approach a designer and they're not interested, and they don't show any interest, you might try again. But then if it's not going anywhere, you just sit back and say, well, there's plenty more fish in the sea.
Yeah.
But it's, I think you've got to know what you want to do. Like, we know
100%.
we want to build high performance. We know we want to be a sustainable builder. Like, we know the types of things we're doing with our waste management on site. That's actually attracting clients and designers for us, because they see what we're doing.
And that's the key, isn't it? Like, with everything in business, like, you want to attract like-minded designers and architects, clients, subcontractors, employees. Like, you want to build a team around you. And I think this is another important thing. Like, when I say team, it's everybody. Every person that my business touches, accountant, lawyers, solicitors, like, they're all my team. You want to be attracting people that have a similar interest to you, that are driven like you, that are going to have the same sorts of values and qualities. Like, and that is what makes the team win.
Absolutely, yeah. We did, a prime example for this is we did an open day. I actually caught up with another builder that was building a high-performance home last year, and we talked all our chippies. And one of the chippies actually was an apprentice, made mention, and Darren heard it, like, "Oh, do we have to be here? Like, what are we doing here?" And Daz is like, don't worry about 3-strike system. If you are blatantly just not in the calls or not talking our language, you're gone. Like, and I don't mean that in a real ruthless, cutthroat way, because people who know Daz know he's the larrikin. He drives our culture, and, he's the piss taker. And, he's so when someone said that, it's like, nah, hang on a minute. This is not, you're not invested in what we're trying to achieve here and what we're trying to do. Yeah. So, prime example again, like, you got to have the right attitude. If you don't have that attitude and you don't want it, well, nothing's probably going to change. Yeah. You've got to actually get off, your backside and go and do something about it for yourself. I know for me, like, same thing. I probably sat on my backside in my personal life a little bit for a while and just thought, well, I've got kids, life busy, but I actually commit now and have done for about 18 months to be consistent with my training, and I'm at the gym. I work my life, my business around it. Yeah. I know if I miss it and my head's foggy or I'm a little bit frustrated, like, you'll look at it 9 times out of 10, it's because I haven't done any exercise or I haven't had a blowout.
But isn't it unreal how once you start getting into that, and like, I'm guilty of this, like, the last the week I've been, since I got back from that bloody breathless expedition, mate, it's taken me 2 weeks to thaw out.
You've been breathless, mate.
I have been breathless. It was friggin', mate, recommend it to everyone. It was the hardest, most challenging, most enjoying, most emotional, like, it was just everything. Like, it was pretty full on. But I've been pretty slack the last week and a half since I got back. And, like, it's funny, if you don't, like, just knowing, like, you'd be the same now, I reckon, like, when you get to that point where you're like, yep, jump out of bed, have a shower, go to your gym, go for your run, do whatever you're doing, get yourself in the right mindset and I guess zone first, the rest of the day just falls into place. Yeah. If you like, your alarm goes off, you're like, oh shit, just lay for another 5 minutes, like, yeah, chill out, look out the window, oh shit, close my eyes again. Like, if you let your brain muck around for that little bit, your whole day's fucked. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've done it before, where you go through periods and you're not being consistent. And I think when you're being consistent with everything, like, everything else clicks. But I get up in the morning and, like, if
just the little things I try and tick off first. And that's even just having a stretch, making a coffee, you know, if there's some dishes to chuck some dishes away, just so like you feel you've got a couple of little time there, like little, you know, a stretch might be 10 minutes, but a coffee, a couple of minutes, and then you sit down and, you know, whether you're doing a podcast or an audio book or just listening to pump me up motivational video or some tunes, whatever, like you're already achieving something. And when you don't do that and you maybe crawl out of bed or, you know, I get it, like I'm not on the tools anymore. So, you know, I still get to site early on the days I've got to be, but my day's a little bit different to maybe some other builders who are on site early, getting home, and then they got the yards to catch up on at night time. And we've been there, like you know, if you've got to catch up with everything out of hours, eventually you're going to fail, like, because you just, it's not sustainable.
You lose your passion. Like it all just, you just start getting the shits with everything.
No, mate, been there, like probably late 20s, early 30s. Like I got to a point where I even just said maybe it'd be easier just to bloody go and work at Woolworths or something and not deal with the shit. But then it comes down to, like, you know, sorting your own shit out. Being a great dad, having a good marriage, looking after yourself, catching up with mates. I think we were doing a Zoom a few weeks ago and we had our great mate Apples on and talking about just, you know, looking out for each other. And I think while we were on that Zoom, I reached out to like 4 of my best mates that I've been through everything through in life. Or we've like lost people, we've grown, we've got kids together, you know, we've all got different businesses. And, you know, I just messaged them like, guys, I've been slack and how's everyone going? How's this going? How's this going? Because I just sort of like gotten distracted for a few weeks to like not check in on some people who are important. You know, and if you're not having time for yourself and the things that matter in life, like, eventually it's going to wear you down and you're going to hate it.
So, mate, what's the big turnaround like? So you've come a long way. So for someone that sort of signed up to Elevate for the pack process, like 12 months later, you're still charging on, you're motivated as ever, you're jumping in. Like, has it proved to you, like, because this something for me was like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And like we threw ourselves in the deep end. Well, I did in particular because I did my passive house course like you did late sort of second half of last year. And so I was doing that and we were doing, you know, putting a pre-construction process in and, you know, we're trying to, network and we're doing trying to clean up on everything we could. We just anything in our business, we went back, pulled it apart and just saw how we could kind of put it on steroids and, you know, I mean, in a I suppose a positive way, without looking like we're just trying to change the universe. Like we're just trying to make sure we're also making people grow. And we've been able to like include our team in things as well. Like, you know, they know what we're doing. They know what's in pre-construction. They know what systems we're trying to put in. They know what we're changing up and what directions we're trying to change. And like our house has been high performance. Like we won't be building anything without a HRV in it. And we want to be using high-end WRB wraps and, you know, that's just the minimum stuff that we're doing to make it all better. But I think the more that we kind of took a bite out of, the more we wanted. So, and that's like us, as I said before, I don't sit back. We just want to keep kicking doors down. But I think the biggest thing, mate, we took out of like Elevate and we have taken out of Elevate is like the community. Like it's freaking awesome.
It's insane, you know? Like most Fridays I have a tear in my eye now. Like there's at least one member that you... So I'll put this question to you because it's something else that's come up with a few of the calls I've been having lately. Like, I feel like builders need to be vulnerable. And it's like so many of them sort of skirt around it. But it's like as soon as they become vulnerable, the gates open and just they're away. And shit just starts to happen. They take ownership, they take responsibility, and like their lives, their businesses just take off.
Yeah, and I think we're all like... Look, and I know there's some women out there who are builders and some great builders as well, like, and trades, like, so, but generally speaking, most builders are blokes and we're all like stubborn, pig-headed, like, and we've, you know, I know you've had this conversation before with plenty of builders, we're all kind of, I suppose, painted with the same brush, but we as Darren and myself with Backman Builders, I suppose we spent too long, even though we had that family network, our uncles are like the older generation, and, you know, we're like, no, we're going to do this ourselves. So we kind of, you know, have chats with them, but it's not like anything serious. It's more about footy and family and what's going on and stuff. Whereas with us, like we kind of went through like 10, 11 years and we have the odd chat with the builder and, you know, whatever, but it might have been someone we've already got a connection with. Whereas I wish we had have done that early days. Like the stigma's changed and everyone else has bought in to say, no, we're going to help each other out. And I know you guys have taken a big intake into Elevate, which is awesome because the community is growing. But I know, like I talked with Darren about it and some other members, like you can almost just like feel things changing. Not just like talking about it, but you can actually like almost feel it. Like when you approach something that you know that it's kind of like almost like a physical change. Yeah. And that's what we want. We all want a physical change because it's got to be better.
The industry is like... It's on that tipping point. Like I said earlier, like I really feel like I went to that Master Builders conference a few weeks ago and then bloody jumped on and did a rant on social media. It got shared, got picked up. Someone over here sent it to over here, and before you know it, I'm
raising hell,
spending hours on the phone with some heated conversations. And then anyway, that led to a meeting, and look, we'll see what happens from that meeting. But I think our associations are very aware now of what's going on. And look, I'll keep pushing for it. I honestly believe, only in the last sort of week, actually, I've probably got a bit more focused on it. Like I believe all builders up to $15 million turnover and under, we need to be separated. We need to be our own. We need to have our own licensing. We need to have our own rules, our own regulations. Any builder turning over $15 million or maybe it'd be like, say, 30 homes a year, they need to be in another class. Like we are so different.
I honestly would feel for young guys knowing that we were 23 and 21 when we stepped out into this, like, we were ready to take on the world. And when you're a young bloke, you feel like you're invincible and you're going to kick ass. And you know what? Like I'm bloody proud of what we've achieved together.
No, you've done very well.
And to do it with my brother, and that's one, like a lot of builders out there will just have themselves and maybe their wife. Like we're so fortunate we've got ourselves, like each other to have, and being brothers to do that, like it would be something really like to look back on later in life when our kids are older to say, well, look what we've done and achieved. But for young blokes now to start, if you want to get out there and be a builder now, like, fuck, I feel sorry for them because we've gone through so much shit. Like it's gotten harder. People like watch stupid reality shows and don't have an idea of what the real world is like in building. But I think if you're trying to get out there now and you don't have a good financial background or you don't have, someone with a money pit to help you out, like I don't even know how the hell you're going to get insurance to be a builder. Like you can get your license. At the end of it, it's like getting married. It's a piece of paper. Yeah. Like it doesn't mean shit when you start a business. Like you've got to have it. But I think if you're starting out now, like
like this, and again, I've definitely changed my tune because if it had been harder, and I say this all the time, if it had been harder, I probably wouldn't have done it. But for any builder, any young person out there now doing an apprenticeship or trying to get their license, you cannot spend enough time, money, energy on educating yourself.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, I was just going to say, like having platforms out there, like Live Life Build as well, that a lot of that stuff just wasn't there. Like you used to be able to go to we went to HIA for like, pre-license revisions and, this is what you need to prepare for. Like keep in mind, like I think we just had an iPhone come out when I was like an apprentice. So now like it's a bit easier, but you can get...
You're making me feel old. I still had the old Nokia 3210. We could only get text messages.
But yeah, so I mean, like, there's so much at your disposal now. Like if you sit there now and you're not doing anything to, I suppose, pursue a better business life, personal life, like you can only blame yourself, really. Yeah.
But so much of it is personal, but isn't it? Like that's like obviously we focus heavily on it in Live Life Build, but like I know back in the day when I knew there had to be a better way and I tried to get help, like it was all focused on the business and not, but like we've touched on, like if you're not right, your mindset's not right, you're not focused, you're not setting goals, you're not understanding targets, you're not like in all the right headspace, it doesn't matter how good a business information you have because you'll just stay on that roller coaster ride up and down, up and down.
And I think like prime example of that was we had the first live weekend in Kingscliff with a group of legends really.
It was incredible.
Like the Saturday morning after the first day, like no one had really met. Like we all felt like we knew each other, but everyone meets, and then all of a sudden it's like you feel like you've known each other for a while. And then to do that like breathwork session on the Saturday morning on the beach, sunrise coming up, and then to do ice baths and then jump in the water, and everyone's just like getting around each other. Like it was like
Mate, that was insane. We only had I think it was like 7 or 9 people respond and say, yeah, we'll have a go at the ice bath. And I think
I
we
know
ended
Daz
up
and
with...
me were pretty freaking keen. I don't know, we're lunatics.
We pretty much ended... I don't know what we ended up with, but like I would say 80 or 90% of the people that were there all
I think
did it.
nearly everyone did.
Yeah.
So, and you know, you got our main guy Shay, like making us look like amateurs, getting in for like 20 minutes or something. But no, like stuff like that's awesome. Like, I know you've made comment to me before, but we're kind of on our own mission to kind of just keep pushing the boundaries. And you know, I mean, I suppose we'd educate on different products and stuff like that, but we haven't done as much as we have until the last 12 months. Whereas now I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm not going to sit back and just not keep learning, not keep pushing the boundaries.
You've caught that addiction, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know, and you know, I think I'm just more balanced in my life now as my kids are getting older too. My youngest is 3.5, and I'm out of that kind of baby stage. And you know, like I feel like I'm getting more time. As crazy as that sounds, because like you got kids sports and stuff, but
cows.
Yeah, cows. Don't talk to my missus about that.
I want to get to the cows. We'll have to talk about that before we finish. But
sure. But you know, like that's another thing. Like farming. Like I'm, you know, I've got one of my best mates who've gone through a lot together, and he's from a farming family just on the outskirts of Melbourne, and he's been everything from a diesel mechanic to a shearer to a full-time farmer. And like the amount of stuff I've learnt off him and guys like our great mate Craig involved as well. Like you just kind of, I'm just a sponge. Like learning is just something that I think we all should just keep doing. And if we stop 100%. Learning, we're not moving.
Well, before we move on to the fun stuff, what's like if there's going to be people out there listening, tradies or builders that are maybe thinking about throwing it in, or like it's just all too hard. Like what's 3 things, like 3 bits of advice, someone that's been in business 12 years, what's 3 advice that you can give from?
I think the biggest one is we all make fuck-ups and have failures. Like you're just a wanker if you think you haven't failed at something. But honestly, the best thing I ever did was like I hated failure. Like I hate failure. Everyone hates failure, but I actually embraced it. Like, and there was some, you know, couple of jobs, couple of clients where like, it cost you money, heartache, like you know, sleep, the whole works. And I just accepted that and thought, what can I take out of it and make sure that never happens again? And we did it as a collective, and that was like honestly the biggest thing. You know, and like I suppose the second thing is like find your passion and your direction. So I know for myself, like I'm an asthmatic, have been my whole life. So like me finding Passive House was kind of like a really big passion and something that we're not going to look back on. It's something I'm going to keep pushing and driving because I believe like we can, you know, not just have a better building industry from structural points of view, but from health benefits. Yeah. That's such a huge thing that people worry about, you know, bench tops and tiles and, you know, tap fittings and shit. Whereas like worry about air quality and air tightness. And,
mate, you need to,
thermal.
You need to get on to Zara. We got a podcast coming up with Zara. I think Kyle's doing a course at the moment. She is, eye-opening. Yeah.
And, you know, that's the thing. So find your passion. And like next is like, I think just back yourself. Like, you know, what's the worst going to happen? You're going to fail, do something else. Or you don't like it, do something else. Like we've got people that we know, like, a great mate of ours was like 36, had been a head chef for like a long time. And he now, operates and runs a sustainable partial demolition company in Melbourne, and he's going from strength to strength, and he's got a young family now, and you know, so I mean, that's probably the 3 I think would be the most beneficial.
I reckon they're 3 crackers. Like it's actually, I love it that it wasn't just all business. Like you're basically, ownership, passion, and find your motivator. Like, so can we talk a little bit about the Passive House stuff? So like I was going to ask you where that's come from, but you've just touched on like you've been an asthmatic. Yeah. So is sustainability, is that something you've always been a little bit interested in?
Yeah, I think like I've always been like a bit of I haven't lived my whole life in the country. I've been in the country, back in Melbourne, like back and forth a bit. But I've always been like an animal lover. Always loved outdoors. And I think you just kind of see now, like from an environmental point of view, I sort of, people are just stupid. Like we are so wasteful, and it's like, you know, and we all have been in certain ways. There's always some part of our life that you look at and go, shit, mate, you know, like I've got 6 people live in my house, and you know, for us, we've like our waste out of our house is always going to be higher than like maybe a single person or just a married couple or something like that. But you know, like I think from a building point of view, we're we were trying to find a better way of building, like, whether it's someone's got steel beams coming out of a house because it's like, hey, it looks cool, but there's a thermal bridge there. And it's like, we see things. It's like, well, where's the moisture go? And, we probably didn't dive in deep enough, early enough. And I think, people that we network with that, the old term of jumping in the rabbit hole. And once you jump in the rabbit hole, there's, I don't know, there's a climate-based thing, but funny enough, like the house we're staying in at Noosa at the moment, like it's just got timber shutters, like louvers with fly screens. They're all covered in mold, so there's no real moisture management there and, air tightness about it. So I like passive house because I think the minimums of it, which with it being German based, like there's not as big a passive house drive in Germany now because it's just their minimums. It's their building code.
Condensation and moisture and mold are huge, hey? Like it's something, honestly, mate, I'd put my hand up. Like until the last couple of years, I didn't understand it. No one had ever talked to me about it. I didn't...
we're not educated about it. It's not in our... you don't learn it at trade school. And I know there's like, they're pushing a bit now to bring in, to learn about passive house concepts and the cornerstones in trade school. But I think like we're heavily like educating even clients at the moment. Like we've had a house we've built that's not passive house. We've brought in the elements of building it more high performance, but we had a bit of a push trying to get our clients to put in decentralized HRV systems in. It's not designed for a centralized system with all the ductwork, so we're trying to just make it as good as we can and healthy as we can. And like we had to educate them on why do we need this? And I think there was a comment there, and like their clients won't mind it saying it because we've got a great relationship, but I think the comment was like, well, every other house getting built in the area at the moment doesn't have a requirement for it. And I'm like, yeah, but every other house getting built is not even being thought of in this way. Like they are having these issues. They are having issues behind the walls that we don't know about. So yeah, that's a passion for us. But like the environmental part of it, like obviously the energy efficiency is a bonus. I just think if you're investing a lot of money in building, so why not invest that little bit more and not spend as much on bills? Like why do you want to give your money to the energy companies and pay a heap on electricity and gas?
It's massive, and it's like I remember Hamish saying to me when I was looking into doing my passive house course, like you can't unknow once you start learning all this stuff. And it
said the same to me.
it's definitely driving my interest in it because I don't want to be building homes that are getting condensation and mold in their walls and like leading to health issues and all these types of things. And like we recorded a podcast with Zara Dakota last week, Healthy Home, and man, like it was we're gonna get her back on because I just didn't have any idea of the extent of it, and she's really opened my eyes up to.
Yeah, like we're gonna start doing a few different things. Like as I mentioned before, there's a fella Anthony from Outlier Studios who's he's actually got a background of carpentry and knows design, and he's really driving as per built checks to basically make sure there's no corners being cut, testing the house, and we're doing blower door tests on everything. If we've got a renovation extension, we're doing a blower door test on it to basically check out, hey, is there anything that could potentially be missed? Can we seal some stuff up that we're not going to be working on?
Can you talk us through that? Because I see I don't know if it's that same guy, but you did on was it Hempcrease House or something
Rammed Earth House, Anthony, So
is that giving you a bench? Like, did you do that early to give you a benchmark?
Yeah, basically, it probably gives us a bit more, not just us as the builder, but them as the design team, the analysis, like data, we talk data. It gives us that data, live data to work with. We were probably expecting a really bad result with that one, and I think it was 6 air changes an hour, and from the standard code, we talk about 10 air changes an hour, which is guarantee you, it's way more than that for a lot of new homes.
Oh, don't I think the average house is between 20 and 40 or something. It's insane.
Yeah, and a passive house is 0.6 air changes or under. So we got 6 and we haven't touched it. So we know when we go back to that now that there's an entry door frame there that's an old rubbish one that's got no seals around glass or doors, and all the windows need sealing and stuff like that, and that we will get a good result from that, and the clients now know they've got that data. And we use it as well to educate our team. So we'll get our team in, and if you've done a blower door test on just a standard house, you can go around, you can put your hand on a light switch or a power point, if you not so much Queensland but Victoria, there's fireplaces everywhere. So you're going into an old period home in Victoria and you've just got this massive tunnel that's that's coming through a fireplace. And the reality is, if you're building a better standard house, you don't need a fireplace because you're going to cook yourself. You're going to wrap yourself and you're going to light a fire and you're going to be cooked. So, we're trying to we're educating ourselves, we're educating our team. We're finding when we're doing these steps as well, like we're attracting the right like-minded clients, designers. I think last week we had another 2 Zoom chats with 2 other, passive house architects. This is all work that we're chatting about, like 2024, 2025. So it's actually giving us like a real funnel and a pipeline of work that is what we want to do.
But you're putting it out there, eh? So you're attracting ideal clients, the clients you want to be working for, the clients that are interested in what you're doing, which ultimately means that you're able to run a successful, profitable business because the client's paying you for the expertise that you have.
Yep.
And look, there might be a lot of people listening, I guess, that don't know a lot about the passive house. Like I went and did my course to just get more educated about it, and because I think exactly like most of the things we've talked about today, like if you don't know what you don't know, you can never improve on things. But I'm blown away by just how big this sort of stuff is. Like the passive house is one thing, and then talking to Zara about like building materials and electromagnetic waves, and like how studies are getting done that like people are diagnosed with these illnesses that are actually because of the houses they're living in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's friggin' insane.
Well, they're tested and the results are there. So like we're even going to put moisture readers in the walls, and that can be tracked as data, and that's like credit more to Anthony at Outlier. They're currently doing that already, and we're going to start. The one thing we're pushing is we're going to start filming a bit more of our construction and the builds. Getting a bit more active in that, just so we can kind of really even more so educate as well, and for ourselves, like just to sort of look back on it and see where we can improve and so forth. But yeah, like the industry that are involved with high performance homes, healthy homes is like it's a great part of the industry to be in. Like there's a lot of support. I think you could probably there'd be very little people in that sector of the industry that would not give you the time of day to help you learn or grow. I reckon there would be probably I could count on less than one hand, like non-responses I've had. Yeah. And, I'll probably little shout out to, I know you talk a bit with Shawnee from Tassie Builders blog.
Yeah. He's fantastic, mate.
We send each other.
I don't know why he hasn't got more followers, man. He's great.
He's going to be, he's a superstar.
We've got to get him on. Yeah. We've got to get him on the podcast.
Well, we're going to, even all the Zanetto boys are great. But I think with, guys like that, like they're so passionate that they're sending out, we'll send each other videos of things or photos of like products or, whatever it might be. And it's like, hey, we did this, like, will that work? And, we just did details from our guys, like the passion from our boys to learn is, it makes us feel so proud because they're giving up their own time to go and do things and learn. And like when they're executing, like just the taping and stuff like that, if apprentices are like taping stuff and it'd be like they taped a Christmas present and they're ready to unwrap it. Like they're pumped,
I'm pretty excited. We've got Stewie coming up here in a couple of weeks, hopefully to, actually by the time this goes to air, hopefully we would have done it. But yeah, we're building a frame at the moment and then he's going to come and show us how to do all the installs and the seals around the windows and things. And I see you guys did a really good video on it, but I follow heaps of guys in the States and like they are all over this stuff. Like,
yeah, we're so far behind the 8 ball with it all. And that's the thing. There's, there's a lot of guys in the industries that would be like building science nerds. I probably can't say I sit here and say I'm a building science nerd. Like I'm just really passionate. So but at the same time, like I'm realistic. Like I can't just be a building science nerd because I need to wear, we all wear a lot of hats. So if I was just worried about being a building science like specialist and that, like that's why we kind of like trust our team and grow our team to be a part of that fold as well. Like if it's just Darren and myself that go to seminars and go get educated, like that's great, but our team's not getting any better. Yeah. So like getting along to like Darren didn't make it up to the Passive House conference in Sydney, but James, our supervisor, and myself did. Yeah. And it was awesome. Like we walked away and he was pumped what he took out of it. Like you can't put a value to that.
Yeah. So did you take your team up there?
Just two of us. Yeah. So might have to try and take more next time. But it was a little bit unknown with what we had on with site. What was going on with site with our basement job, whether we could get away or not with a big hole in the ground and pretty time consuming stuff. But yeah, we got up there and Daz has got baby number 3 on the way, so he's made a bit more of a personal decision not to get there. But it's I think if you get along to the next one or an open day, like, they're pretty invaluable. There's just so much information.
I'm keen as it would have been good just to catch up with all the boys there too, because it's just so good to see the community growing around all this stuff and seeing the same sorts of people showing up and doing posts about it. It's really, really rewarding. But mate, what do you so what's Dean do to get away from building? What's your
well, I think, mate, I'm always surrounded by women at home. I'm blessed to have 5 women in my house. Like, where people always say to me, do you want the son? And it's like, it would have been great, but I'd love the tag of girl dad. It's it's one that I embrace. I know you are as well. Yeah. And to be honest, I reckon a couple of my daughters would run rings around some of the young fellas out there anyway. But we made a massive lifestyle choice a bit over 2 years ago, to buy a farm. So we moved from Melbourne back out to get some back to my country roots, and my wife's a country girl as well. So we bought some acreage, and we had lockdowns at the time, and I think one of our neighbours started calling us McDonald's Farm or something, because we have I love my cattle. I've got horses and chooks and ducks and alpacas, sheep, dogs, cats. I've got a puppy at the moment from sent down from Craig, another border collie, and so we just try and remain active. And
I think that's really cool, mate. Like, we've got very similar interests. I think it's cool because that really ties in with the passive house and the building sustainable. Like, you're really practicing what you preach. Living a better life.
Yeah, I think so, mate. And I think if I can get out before work, it's pretty dark at home now, a lot. But I think we just had calving, finish up for the autumn calving, and morning and night checks with the cattle, and
it's work, but it's not, eh?
No, I don't see it as work, mate. I don't see what I do as building as work. I know, we've had this chat, but I kind of feel like I don't work.
Mate, I feel the same. People say to me all the time, it looks like you never stop. Like, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it.
Yeah. If I can get away from some more admin, I feel like I don't work. Like, that's my next goal, is to, get away from a little bit more admin, and just more work on the business. And, I love the marketing side of stuff as well. Yeah. But, I love just getting around everyone and making sure everyone's kind of going well, mate. I think that's the biggest thing.
So let's we're getting close to wrapping it up. What's next for Backman Builders? Like, what's on the cards?
Yeah, we're just literally currently doing a bit of rebranding. We're obviously had the luxury of expanding 2 years ago to be Melbourne Metro and also rural. So we cover like a pretty big area for a builder. And I guess that's where we're lucky to have 2 brothers running the business hands on. But look, definitely for us, like, where, if a house isn't planned to be full of high performance elements and become a healthy home, it's just not going to have a Backman Builders sign up out the front, plain and simple. But I think we're entering a phase of our lives where Daz is about to have his 3rd, and I think he said last kid. So we're kind of got 7 kids between us, and I suppose like we'll probably start turning our heads a bit more towards our next decade of our life, and we're working on some bigger goals that we want to start working towards. Maybe we'll chat about another time, but we just want to keep pushing the limit, and being a part of the industry like yourself, mate, being a part of the industry that's on the right side of things, and
I honestly feel like the next 10 years in our industry is just going to be awesome. Like, there's just so many people. Social media's got a big part to do with that. There's so many guys like yourself and Kyle Zanetto and Tassie Builders Blog and like all the guys in the Elevate group. Like, there's just so many people doing amazing things and finding their passions and following them and encouraging. And then you got, obviously, the passive house community, and then you got people like Zara Dakota getting involved. Like, it's just,
and that's probably awesome. One thing to say is, like, I know when we met yourself, Dwayne, and Amelia, it was kind of like, actually meeting these people. Like, and it's funny, we had people come up to us and say, I watch you on Instagram, and it's like, oh shit, like, I'm just a builder, like Dean Backman, a normal person. And that's the thing, like, reach out to people and like go catch up with people, or go ask to see someone's site, or have a beer or a coffee, because most people will help you. And like, I'm more than happy to catch up with people and write back to someone's DM or whatever it might be. Like, we send out documents to each other, to other guys in Elevate and stuff, and just to kind of help each other. And I think at the end of the day, like there's so much work out there that we're not stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah.
That stigma is kind of like on the way out.
Oh, it has to be, mate. And there's so much room for growth.
Yeah.
Enormous room for growth. Well, mate, look, really appreciate you coming on the podcast, especially while you're up here on holidays. But
Pleasure, mate.
I'm looking forward to the next couple of hours. So we're actually heading off to the local pub to catch up with some of the Elevate members and have a few beers and a dinner while you're up here. So, mate, appreciate your time. I think you've added a lot of value to the guys and girls that listen. And I reckon we're probably going to get you back for round 2 at some stage, and we'll have to make sure the other half's with you.
Well, mate, winter hangs around for a long time in the massive ranges, so we might have to get up soon again.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers.
Are you ready to build smarter, live better, and enjoy life? Then head over to livelifebuild.com/elevate to get started.
Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Dwayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.